Hi there. Today we are diving in and talking to Tyler J. McCall about how to go about growing your Instagram followers to be an engaged audience that is looking to purchase your products or services. Before we dive into it, make sure that you check in the comments for the Pitch Perfect masterclass that I will be holding so that you can learn how to attract your dream sponsors and get paid where you're worth. All right, let's dive in. Good morning, guys. It is Tuesday at 11 a.m. Eastern. I am here with Tyler J. McCall. I am so excited to talk to y'all today. As you come in, give me a hi, give me a good morning so I know who is here with us. And Tyler, will you start to introduce yourself? Tell us a little bit about yourself. I have been talking about you because, of course, I'm in your membership site. So I stalk your stories, but I'd
I love it.
give everybody a little bit of a background about yourself.
Yeah, of course. Well, Jenny, thanks so much for having me. I'm super excited to be here with you and everyone watching this morning. So my name is Tyler J. McCall. I help entrepreneurs and small business owners use Instagram in a more intentional and genuine way to grow their business and grow their impact. And I do that through my online community, the Follower to Fan Society, which Jenny is a part of, where we talk all about marketing and branding strategies for Instagram. And I have been doing this I've been running this membership site for almost a year now, but before that, I spent a couple of years doing social media management and content creation for local businesses and national brands. And before that, I spent nearly 8 years in the nonprofit world doing marketing, management, and operations, along with community organizing and political organizing. So I've kind of done it all in regards of like nonprofit, community work, and running a business. And really, I pull from that experience I have of building relationships and building community and pull that into what we do on Instagram now. And that's what I talk about. That's what I teach.
Yes, and I am really excited to talk about that because as I was telling you before we got started, the majority of the people that are here live with us are bloggers. And I would love for you guys actually to put into the comments on a scale from 1 to 5 how comfortable you are with Instagram. And I know we've been talking a lot about Instagram, trying to make sure we feel comfortable with it because it's obviously something that brands are looking for, which is what y'all know I'm known for. So put in from 1 to 5, 5 being most comfortable and totally ready to rock it, and 1 you don't know even how to post. Just so we can kind of have an idea of who is with us and what we're seeing. Okay, so Amy says 5, Morgan says a 6.
Love it.
She's always an overachiever. Perfect. Michaela said a 3. Okay, we're right in the middle with that. Perfect. And I think one of the things that, Amy is changing her answer to a 3. Love it. What I was telling Tyler is that a lot of us are used to this whole idea of you wanting to use Instagram because that's how we use other social media to drive traffic to our blog posts. And we're learning that we can't do it that way. So Tyler, I'd love to really talk about like why you believe in the power of Instagram and your Instagram followers.
Yeah, totally. So I think the first thing to think about is Instagram has really changed how we create and consume content. And that means that for us as business owners, brands, bloggers, and as content creators, we need to adapt to this kind of new way that people are consuming content online. So the first thing I want to challenge you with, and I'm just going to kind of throw this out there, and then I'm going to like duck from the tomatoes if they start flying. And Jenny's heard this. I talked about this inside the Follower to Fan Society, is Instagram is not a traffic driving platform. Instagram will not really do the work of getting people off of Instagram to your content on your blog or website or on another platform. So what you have to think about as a content creator is how can you adapt your content and bring it to your followers on Instagram? And this is a little contrary to what you have probably been doing before, and a little contrary to what you typically are thinking of in terms of, oh, I need to drive traffic to get that traffic to my blog, because that in turn is going to lead to brand partnerships and sponsorships and ad revenue. Instead, I want you to think about how you can keep doing what you're doing on your blog, keep creating content, keep optimizing it for search engine results, keep using Pinterest as a way to drive traffic, keep using Facebook groups, all of those places. But then use that same content and adapt it for Instagram and share it through your feed, your stories, your live, and your IGTV episodes as a way to keep your audience on Instagram and engaging on Instagram. You see, the reason I love Instagram so much is because it is the most engaging social media platform. When we look at all the platforms next to one another, Instagram always comes out on top in terms of engagement. We get the most engagement, we can have the most conversations, we can have the most connections with our dream customer, client, or reader. And it's also a really powerful platform because Instagram and Twitter are really the only two places that allow us to go out and find our ideal customer, client, or reader organically. We can't really do it on Facebook. We can't necessarily do it as much on Pinterest, but on Instagram, we can spend a few minutes going into hashtags, locations, and other accounts, and we can find our dream reader right there on Instagram and connect with them. And you don't have to spend money to do it. You don't have to have any kind of fancy technology to do it. It's literally just you and your thumbs. If you're like me, it's you and your fat thumbs, and it's like, trying to always fix your spelling errors on Instagram. But that's all you need. That's all you need to do. The other reason I love Instagram is because it opens up this channel for people to speak directly to you. And there's really nowhere else that allows this. Like Instagram does, and that you can have an audience of people on Instagram who are talking directly to you about their hopes, their dreams, their wishes, their desires, what they want from you, what kind of content you can create for them. And you can't really do that anywhere else. Like a Facebook group is probably the next best place to do it. But on Instagram, it's so easy, it's so natural, and it's such a part of kind of the Instagram experience that, again, that is going to help lead to more results for you and your brand.
Now, is there a piece of Instagram? So when I think of Instagram, a lot of us, especially as bloggers, we think of that beautiful feed, right? The perfect pictures. When you're talking about speaking directly to us, is there a piece of Instagram that you're kind of leaning towards that you do more of that with?
I love this question. I also love that it was kind of leading and getting to it. Yeah, y'all, the feed is not nearly as important as it was before. And I think that's a really hard pill for a lot of folks to swallow. And I think that's something that a lot of people are still unwilling to believe. But the numbers prove that more people are spending time on Instagram stories than any other feature or platform within Instagram. Instagram Stories is now the most used feature of Instagram. A majority of Instagram's daily active users are creating and consuming Instagram Stories. And Instagram Stories have led to people spending 2 to 3 times more on Instagram every single day than they did before Stories existed. And I think a lot of what we're seeing in terms of decreased engagement on Instagram, which I know is like a hot topic, people are saying the algorithm's here, it's cutting into my engagement. That's not what's happening. The algorithm may be shifting who's seeing your content and how they're seeing your content, but more than anything, the habits of users on Instagram have changed. And what a lot of us aren't doing is recognizing that we have to adapt to these changing user habits. And people are watching Instagram stories, just mindlessly watching Instagram stories in place of mindlessly scrolling through the feed like they did before. So that means Instagram stories are now that place for you to create the content that is going to be in front of your followers on a consistent basis. And Instagram stories are so powerful because 1 in 5 Instagram stories leads to a direct message. So that means 20% of the time you have the opportunity to have a direct conversation with your ideal reader, consumer, or client and start building that relationship with them. So Instagram stories are so important, and I just want to shout it from the rooftops. Everyone, create Instagram stories. They're so important.
Yes. No, I totally agree. And as a user looking from it, not as the blogger or the business owner, but I'm not going through my feed like the way I used to. Like you said, it's not a matter of the algorithm. It's just my practice is now to go straight to Instagram stories, and I will actually leave after I'm done with my Instagram stories. And I'm not, one of the things too that I love that you talk about with Instagram stories is the fact that you bring up the point that not everyone listens to it with the volume actually on. That's me, because if I have the volume on, the girls are going to swarm me and be like, oh, mommy, who are you talking to? What's that? What's this? What's that? But if I can just mindlessly watch it go through, it's so helpful. So do you have a practice that you have to kind of, if you're talking and I'm not listening to the sound, what do you recommend to make sure to do?
Yeah, so I'm a big fan of adding text to all of my Instagram stories where I'm talking on that story itself. So I just do this right within Instagram. I do a lot of just talking head videos. It's literally just me, my phone, talking to it like this. And after I talk to it, I take a few minutes and I type out what I just said on the screen. I'm gonna make it a little bit smaller, kind of put it down toward the bottom, and that's available for folks. And I started doing that probably 6 months ago or a little bit longer. Mainly because I had some followers saying, we had someone join Follower to Fan Society who was deaf. And I was like, holy crap, like there's like a huge community here that I'm not doing a good job of serving through the content I'm creating, because even with Inside Follower to Fan, it was this big like eye-opening thing of like, oh my gosh, we need to make our content more accessible for people. And then I thought, as I'm marketing, I need to make my content more accessible. You know, Facebook's done a really great job. We can easily add captions to videos like this and to other videos, but Instagram, it's not easy. It's just not easy. There's no tool that makes it easy for us. So I just got in the habit of always typing out on the screen what I was saying. And that has taken off. It's so popular now. I can see it in, first of all, the metric you should be tracking with stories, this is like a little bonus, is your retention. Like that's the key metric of how many people watch your first part of your story and how many people are left at the end of your story. What percentage of them stayed throughout the entire thing. That's a really great measure of how effective your stories are. And having text on the screen helps my retention so much. Because a lot of what you're probably seeing if you're just doing talking head videos without any text on the screen is you may have a good number, like 100 or 1,000 people watch the first and the second one, and then it drops down to like 60 people by the third one, and then 40, and then 30, and people aren't watching the whole thing. With the text on the screen, it really helps maintain that high retention of your viewer, and that just makes your content more accessible as well. And also, I mean, the more people I've talked to about this, it's people like you who say like, I'm watching Instagram stories when my littles are like doing homework and I don't want them to know it. Or I did a podcast interview with Amy Porterfield and I was talking with her about this. And she said, yeah, I love that when people have text on the screen, because I'm always watching Instagram stories when Hobie's making me watch some TV show that I don't want to watch. And I'm just like secretly watching them and I can see what people are saying without the sound on. And that just makes your content so much more accessible and more people are going to watch it.
I love that. That's such a good suggestion. So Rita actually asked the question, Rita's from Harbor Breeze. What's a good retention percentage, would you say?
Yeah, such a good question, Rita. So my rule of thumb with Instagram statistics and metrics is measure where you are right now and focus on improving your own numbers. That's it. So I would say on average, about 60% retention is probably where a lot of folks are going to fall. But see if you can get that to 65 or 70 or 75% retention. You know, I know for my content, I can normally get 85 to 90% retention on my Instagram stories. And that's a success for me. I think that's a really great number. But measure where you are right now, Rita. Just literally just get out a piece of paper, or sticky note, and write down, okay, I did an Instagram story last week. Also, sidebar, this is why it's really, really important that you have a business account on Instagram so you can actually access all these insights. I'm sure so many of you know as bloggers, like brands aren't even working with you anymore unless you have a business account. But dig into those insights and see, okay, last Monday, I created an Instagram story. I had 100 people in the first one who watched the very beginning, and I had 60 left at the end. So that is 60% retention. And then the next day I had 100 people watch the first one and 50 were left at the end. I retained 50% of my viewers, and just kind of track those numbers and then start thinking about how you can get better and how you can improve that. And also look at, this is another like very simple concept for Instagram, but for some reason, people aren't teaching it and people aren't grasping it. And so I'm just glad that I get to say these simple things. And that is the fact that your followers are always telling you what they want more of and less of through their engagement. So listen to them, trust them, and pay attention to them. Don't ignore what your followers are telling you through their engagement. So if you're getting really high retention on a certain type of Instagram story or a certain day of the week or a certain type of content, maybe try to replicate that type of content or that type of story or that type or that same day, right? And see if that is a trend that you can really latch onto and utilize to maintain that high retention.
So 2 things I can take away from this. First, I love the fact that we're not worrying about what other people are doing and what the industry's standard is as far as retention rate. And then the second thing is, especially reading, like I know that you're looking to work with brands, being able to then report this data to them and saying, this is why I'm going to do an Instagram story on top of everything else that I'm delivering for you in a package because my retention rate is 65% or whatever it might be at that time. And once you really start looking at those numbers and paying attention to them, they're going to become very personal to you so that you'll be able to really articulate that to a brand. So I love that fact. So smart.
Yeah. I think another thing too to pay attention to with Insta stories is I'm seeing a lot when brands are hiring an influencer or doing a paid partnership for Instagram. If they are utilizing Instagram stories as a part of the deal, they're only asking you for like one Instagram story. They just want like one video or one photo. So that's a really unique opportunity for you to say, you know what, my audience actually sticks around for my Instagram stories. I have this level of retention. Like, what if we did like 3 or 4 Instagram stories about your product? And I'd love to kind of tell a little bit more of a complete story about this product. And, you know, this is how that would impact our rate to work together. And that's a great opportunity for you because you have this loyal and engaged following that is consuming your content, sticking around for you to upsell a brand and say, okay, let's add on like 500 or $1,000 for like 2 or 3 more Instagram stories. And then it's more of a comprehensive story and it helps the brand and it also helps you because you have that following already.
Absolutely. Nope. I love that idea. So my next question, how do we measure our efforts in actually growing our Instagram followers? Because at the end of the day, what we can actually charge a brand is going to be tied to our followers.
Sure.
We can always add in, obviously, the percentage of engagement that we have and all of that. But is there a way to use Instagram stories or to use our feed to really be able to grow our followers as well?
Yeah. Okay. Such a good question. So the first thing to recognize is that Instagram, you're going to hear me say this a lot, and I always say this, Instagram has changed. It has changed dramatically. I would say in the past 18 months, Instagram has changed more than from the beginning of Instagram to the mark 18 months ago. You know, Instagram stories, once it was fully adopted, it really changed the way that people are using the platform. So what this means is that the old strategy of posting beautiful content with the right hashtags and just sitting back and waiting for the followers to come doesn't really work like it used to. I'm sure most of you are seeing like hashtags aren't really getting you as much traction as they did before, especially now that we have detailed analytics within Instagram, and we can go into these deep insights on each of our posts, and we can see how people are finding our posts. Typically, hashtags are, you know, like a handful of people that are actually finding your content, unless you create something that really picks up and gets some steam. So what that means for you is that you actually need to do the work of going out and finding ideal followers on your own. So what that looks like is creating the content, posting it, and then spending 5, 10, 15, 20 minutes going into hashtags and locations, going to other people's accounts who have the same ideal follower as you, and following people back to their account to engage with them. Inside Follower to Fan Society, there's this whole engagement strategy that I've created and I lay out for our members. I'm not going to go into it today, but that's what it really looks like, just that broad overview of, okay, who am I trying to attract? Where do they hang out on Instagram? I'm going to go find them. I'm going to go engage with them, like, comment, watch their stories, send them direct messages. Not doing it in a salesy or promotional or scammy way, but doing it in a really genuine, honest way of like, oh my gosh, that's a really beautiful photo, or that looks like an incredible trip, or responding to their Instagram stories when they ask a question. Those are great ways for you to kind of raise your hand, tap them on the shoulder, do a little wave at them to catch their attention, to draw them back to your account and your content.
I love that because it is like being able to find those right people that are going to
Mhm.
want to know about your content. So smart. So, what does your typical day look like on Instagram?
Oh, I love this. Oh my gosh, no one's ever asked me this question. I
Really?
love this question. Yeah. Okay, so I post in my feed maybe twice a week now, which is totally different than what we were doing like a year or a year and a half ago. So about twice a week, I'm still gaining followers every single day, still growing my business. So about twice a week, I post to my feed. Those are normally they're normally kind of off the cuff for me. It's like something that inspires me, something I'm thinking about, a topic that I want to discuss, or pointing to kind of an objective for my business, a sales goal or something like that. And then mainly, I'll be honest with you, mainly my everyday work on Instagram is responding to direct messages.
Okay.
So I'll get on average around 100 DMs a day. And when I'm promoting something, I get more when I'm doing like if I do an Instagram story where I am like at Target, because Target's a big part of what I do. I talk about Target. I love Target. If I'm at Target and I do an Instagram story, the DMs are ridiculous. There's a lot to keep up with. So I spend a lot of my time responding to DMs and just having conversations with people. I try to create Instagram stories every single day as well. And it's either like day in the lifestyle or it's a very particular strategic type of content that I'm trying to push out and promote, or a specific message that I want to communicate. And then spending some time engaging. So just going into hashtags or going into other accounts, liking, commenting, those types of strategies. I do that a few times a day as well. I'll be honest, I spend a ton of time on Instagram every single day. I had a conversation with someone yesterday for a podcast, and she was saying, like, how do I do it so it's not like taking over my life, so I still have my life? And if you feel like it is taking too much time, you just need to batch and kind of chunk your time on Instagram. So give yourself 30 minutes, sit at your desk, get your phone out, give yourself 30 minutes of intentional engagement. Or say, every time I'm waiting in line at Starbucks, or every time I'm waiting in the car at carpool, whatever, like those are going to be my engagement times. And then other times just put it away. The other thing too is to get in the habit of replacing your mindless scrolling time with intentional engaging time. And that's a big one for a lot of folks because I hear from people all the time. They'll say, I spend so much time on Instagram every single day and I'm not growing my following. I'm not getting more followers. I'm not getting more readers, more customers or clients. And then when I say, well, how much time are you spending engaging? They always say, wait, what do you mean? And like engaging, like not just mindlessly scrolling, not just watching like corny videos in the Discover tab, not just going to people you consider your competitors' accounts and feeling really judgy and bad about yourself based on what they're doing, going and engaging on Instagram, right? Don't just mindlessly scroll. Listen, there's a place for mindless scrolling. I love mindless scrolling. But also thinking, hey, if I'm going to be on Instagram for like an hour today, throughout the day, what percentage of that time is going to be intentional for my business and my brand? And increase that. And that's going to help increase your following.
Okay, I have to go back to the Target thing because obviously we're all moms. We all love Target. But how is that benefiting your business? I know the answer, but I want to see how you put it.
Such a good question. Okay, so I genuinely love Target. Like I love Target. I just placed like 2 Target orders yesterday. My followers love Target. It's a really great common ground for us to talk about something. And this is what I want you to think about doing in your content. And this is why putting yourself out there and infusing your personality, your genuine interest and that type of content into your profile and your presence online is going to help you get further. Because when you can find those areas of common ground with your followers, it makes you more approachable. It makes you more real. And it allows your followers to form a deeper and more meaningful connection with you. So when I talk about Target, and I talk about Target on Instagram, I talk about it in my promotional materials. I have an entire training about Instagram where I talk about Target and Chip and Joanna Gaines as the kind of the reference point, like it's the entry point for explaining to people why it matters that we have fans for our businesses and our brands. Because y'all, Chip and Joanna Gaines would be nobodies in the middle of Texas if they didn't have the fans that they have, who helped them build this worldwide empire, right? They wouldn't have their Target deal if it wasn't for their fans. That's why they're so important. So Target is kind of that entry point for my followers. It's that common ground that we share. The other benefit of having something that you're known for outside of your business is it allows you to stay top of mind for your community. And that's why I get messages on a weekly basis from people saying, I was at Target today and thought of you. I saw this at Target and they send me a picture and thought you would like this. They send me memes about Target. They send me funny Target things online, on Instagram, all the time because they associate me with Target. That's incredibly, incredibly powerful. So think about what are a few of those things that you can become associated with so that when your followers are experiencing that store, that food, that TV show, whatever it may be, they will think of you because that allows you to stay top of mind and that allows your brand to have presence and it allows your brand to have that, that really consistent kind of relevance for your followers as well. Like, oh yeah, I'm always thinking about them because of this connection with them.
Yes. And the other piece that I think that goes hand in hand with this is because you're letting them in and making it such a personal relationship, having that conversation with them where they feel like they already know you because they're sending you memes, is that now when you have a product, it's not that hard for them to open their wallet and to pay for your service or to pay for your product. And I think that it's the same thing for bloggers. Even if you are trying to maybe drive traffic every once in a while for a big recipe that you just put out for Thanksgiving or something, if you were to say, DM me for this recipe in your story, you're going to have more people do that if they're already starting to have that conversation with you prior to it. It has to be something that they're used to doing.
Yeah.
And I think you just do such a good job of training your audience and knowing how to interact with you.
Yeah, that's such a great point. And something we talk about in Follower to Fan and something we're going to be talking about more, which I'm so excited about. We have a ton of new trainings coming out in the next few months, but is this concept of like engagement habit stacking and thinking of, okay, before someone DMs me their email address or they DM me to inquire about my product or service, what are the things that need to happen before then? And you spoke to it so well. Like, what is the training that needs to be in place? How do I prepare my audience for that interaction? And it's through things like polls, surveys, using the question feature, pointing people to the DM for fun and interesting and relevant content, likes and comments in the feed. Those are all ways of engaging that need to happen before you get to the point of saying, okay, now DM me to buy this thing or to inquire about this thing. And what happens, I'm so glad you said this too, is because what happens eventually is that selling becomes unnecessary with your community. Because I'm at a point now, and I'm so grateful for this, where anything I present to my followers that is an opportunity for them to invest in themselves and their business by purchasing something from me or someone else is no longer selling to them. It is providing them with the chance to learn more, to have access to a tool, to experience a service, whatever it may be. There's no pushing going on with my brand. I'm not pushing products or services on anyone. Instead, my audience is so pulled in. They're so tuned in to me and what I do, what I stand for, and how I show up, that when I say, hey, here's this thing, it could really help you with this. I think you would be a great fit for it. Here's how to get it. They're like, okay, cool. I trust you. I'm going to buy it. And that's what having that loyal and engaged following does for you and your business. That's why it's so vitally important. It's more important than traffic to a blog because that loyal and engaged following is going to follow you and go with you through the transitions of your business and your brand and your blog. They're going to be there when you say, you know what, I'm going to transition from doing recipes to doing more DIY, or I'm going to transition from posting as much on my blog to I'm going to do more YouTube now. They're going to follow you through that. And just random clicks to a blog, they're not really going to follow you from these different experiences. But a loyal and engaged following on Instagram who's tuned in and dialed into you and what you do, oh, you best believe they are around. Like they're around for the long haul.
Right. Oh, I love that, Tyler. So smart. So I literally could stay on asking you questions all day, but I know that we both need to get to other things. I want to let you guys know that are all watching. Make sure that you go up into the description is Tyler's roadmap to Instagram. Am I saying it right? Is that what it is?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Make sure that you do that. You are not only going to get a great freebie, but in turn, he's amazing at his emails. So he's always providing you with valuable content through his emails. So definitely make sure that you sign up for that. Tyler, I appreciate you so much for taking the time out of your day to be able to come and talk to my audience. I appreciate it.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for having me. This was a lot of fun.
All right, well, there you have it. Clearly, I probably could have talked to Tyler all day long, and he wasn't holding back any information whatsoever. So if you're not using Instagram right now, using your Instagram stories to get people into your DMs, you're totally missing out. Make sure that you, if you have not already, make sure that you head down to the comments. Tell me what you found most interesting about this interview, and feel free to leave me your Instagram account so that I can find new people on Instagram to follow. I appreciate you guys so much. Any comments I would greatly appreciate. Thanks so much.